How do Mime Artists, and welcome to the second episode of going through every card that is going to be in the Burning Shadows set. This one we're going to go through the commons, uncommons and rares, so the last one that will be left will be possibly the most exciting one, all of the GXs, but going through this one in stages. So it'll be with each typing, going to start with grass, go through all of the different uncommons, commons and rares. So starting off we have the grass ones, and Caterpie, very first one coming up. Caterpie, you know it, you love it, from the first generation, just has one attack, surprise attack, 20 damage, flip a coin, if tails this attack does nothing. Probably not going to use this card much, might be used very slightly for the Metapod or the Butterfree, but beyond that, meh. It's 50 HP, pretty much regular for what you'd expect from a Caterpie. But next up with the Metapod, you've got for 1 Grass Energy Ram, 20 damage, just like the Wimpod from Guardians Rising, I think it was. And then for 2 colourless you have Shed Skin, heal 40 damage from this Pokemon. Again, quite alright. If you get attacked, maybe you get 40 onto the Caterpie, then you can just heal it, double colourless, could be 2 grasses in the 2 turns. Butterfree, going up from the Metapod, for 1 grass you've got Bye Bye Healing, heal all damage from all of your Pokemon, shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. This will probably see some amount of play, especially in grass heavy decks as they are, as this does need a grass energy. So if you're going in, you've got the Gliscopod GX, you've just got normal Gliscopod, you've got Lurantis, whatever you're going to be running, this could be a staple. You're going to want maybe some Caterpies, you could always take up their candies, leave out the Metapods, up to you, but this probably will see some play for this attack. And then for 1 grass and 2 colourless you have Stun Spore, 60 damage, which isn't too shabby. Flip a coin, if heads your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralysed. So along with it being used for the grass ones for the first attack, could see some play possibly in something like the Muck GX, possibly in that, as that's looking for you trying to get as many different special conditions on the Pokemon as possible. But as we'll see with the Raichu coming up later, there are a lot more efficient ones that would be able to put things onto that. Next up is Oddish, another basic grass, 50 HP. For 1 grass you've got Poison Powder, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Again, could be useful for Muck, could just be useful for when you're trying to stall just to get out some of these next evolutions, such as Gloom, 80 HP. For the grass it's got Stinky Scent, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Again, not too shabby. And for the grass and colourless, Razor Leaf, 30 damage. It's a normal attack, you might just be using it occasionally if you've got weakness to something, but you'll just be using probably the first attack to stall some more into the Vileplume here. And this ability, Disgusting Pollen, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's basic Pokemon can't attack. So like the old Vileplume that there was that would item lock you, this one is going to stop basic Pokemon, and from what we can tell this is going to be basic GXs as well, so your Drampas, your Necrozmas, things like that will no longer be able to attack, which could stall so many decks that are running mostly just basic types. This could be very well used. And so the second one, Downer Shock, 60 damage, flip ahead. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. If tails, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. So no matter what you're doing, you're getting 60 damage and you're getting one effect, be that sleep or confusion. Not too shabby, and it's somewhat not that bad of an attack. It's somewhat useful, but it's the main ability that is going to be useful for this Pokemon. Next up is Tangela, bind down, 10 damage. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. We've seen a few Pokemon with attacks like that where it stops them defending, such as the such as Rockruff, where it had Corner for 1 rock damage and it was much the same. That didn't have the 10 damage on it though. 80 HP isn't too shabby for a basic Pokemon, one that will be part of the evolution. Tangrowth from that Giga Drain for 1 grass energy. This Pokemon recovers HP equal to the amount of damage done to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if your opponent's maybe, it's a Drampa and it's 160, 170, this can heal 160, 170. Not that you'd need it, HP 140, but that's just kind of an example of what it can be doing. Then it's got for 4 colourless Crosswise Whip. Flip 4 coins, this attack does 50 damage times the number of heads. So you could be doing up to 200 just straight up. If you're using a choice band against a GX, 230, so that's going to take out quite a few Pokemon as it is like that. Then we've got Lady Ba, 60 HP. For 1 grass you've got agility, 10 damage, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. That's not too bad. Then from that we have Ladian. For 1 grass you've got Swift, 30 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. And then for 3 colourless you've got Comet Punch, 40 times damage. Flip 4 coins, this attack does 40 damage times the number of heads. So with that one you'll get a max of 160, 190 if you're running a choice band, but to be honest, it's probably not going to see that much play, not even in grass decks. When you've got a lot of evolution stages that can be really effective, such as the promo Larantis, it's probably not going to see that much. Heracross, next basic Pokemon here with HP 110, ability Guts. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by your opponent's attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out and its remaining HP becomes 10 instead. Not bad in the slightest, so it could be very useful just for getting one more attack in if it's coming down to the wire. Then for 2 grass energy you've got Pitch, 50 damage. Your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. When you've already got things like Guzma, switches, escape ropes in this set, this isn't going to be the most used, I don't think. It's somewhat useful, basic Pokemon 110, but I can't see it being overly played. Then we've got Pansage. We've got the 3 sets, the 3 Pans, Pansage, Pansear and Panpour, all in this set. For 1 grass you've got Vine Whip for 10 damage. Yeah, it's an attack, 70 HP, that's fine for the basic, a lot higher than some of the other basics from this from this set. You've got Caterpie with 50, so it's relatively fine. Then Simisage Grass, HP 90, you've got for 1 colourless Scratch, 30 damage, which is fine, and a grass and a colourless Leaf Supply for 50 damage. You may attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So it's relatively fine again, it's not too shabby. It's kind of like the Fomantis, although you don't attach the energy from your deck, you attach it from your hand. It can help to speed up some of the energy attachment, but you've got to apply 2 energy just to do 50 damage, and to apply 1 extra energy you've got to have in your hand. It's not the best, and again, likely won't see too much play in my opinion. Then Jupider, that was a water in one of the last sets, is now grass. For a grass you get Ambush, 10 damage, flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 10 more damage. Again, probably not going to see too much play, but we do have Araquanid that will evolve from it. For 2 colourless you've got Bubble Net for 30 damage. Energy can't be attached to the defending Pokemon from your opponent's hand during your next turn, so it is quite good for stalling. But when there are quite a few other grass sets out there and ones that can attach energy or stall, and the grass decks aren't too slow. I know Forest of Giant Plants is really going to slow down things like Decidueye, but it's not overly necessary. Then for the grass and 2 colourless you have Sharp Fang for 80 damage. Then last up here is Wimpod. 70 HP, same as from the last set. Ability Wimp Out. During your first turn, this Pokemon has no retreat cost. So if you're starting with a Wimpod, now you're going to evolve up into a Gliscopod, you can retreat it out so you can put it out your next turn and get that 120 worth of damage. Then you've got Grass and 2 colourless for Gnaw on 30 damage. A fine attack, not going to be used that much as it's going to be going into either the Gliscopod from the last set or it will be going into the Gliscopod GX from this set. There we go, that is all of the grass ones. Moving now into fire, starting off with one of the old favourites, Charmander, 70 HP. For 1 colourless you've got Scratch for 10 damage, which is, as you'd expect, not too shabby, probably quite fine, but not going to be used especially much. Then for the fire and the colourless you have Flame Tail for 20 damage. Again, probably not going to be used that much. If you're not getting Charmeleons out too early, it might be game over for the Charmander. Then the Charmeleon, 90 HP. For 2 colourless you have Claw Slash for 30 damage, and then for 2 fires and a colourless, Heat Blast for 30 damage. Not too shabby. For 3 energy, could be a lot worse, and by that stage you're going to be aiming to get that Charizard GX out there. Then you've got Pansear, for 1 fire you've got Ember for 10 damage, HP 70 to begin with, not too shabby, very similar to the Pansage we just talked about. Then Simisear, HP 90. For 1 colourless you've got Scratch on 30 damage, and then for the fire and the colourless, Flare Recharge 50 damage, and attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So for this one it probably will see some play with the Charizard, as you need a lot of energy on that Charizard. You're going to need some Kiawis, you're going to just need to pray to get all of those energies on to be able to do the max amount of damage. Then for Heat More, HP 110. For 2 colourless you've got Odor Sleuth. Flip 2 coins for each head, put a card from your discard pile into your hand. Could be quite useful. This is a basic, and that's quite a useful attack that you might want to drop a DCE onto. If you're going to try to get back something like a Ho-Oh, the Charizard, pretty much anything, as because they are colourless energies, you can put anything on there. So this could be in quite a few decks just to get some of those back. It could be used as something like a VS Seeker in place of that, as that will be rotated out. So this could be an attack that works as a double puzzle, something along those lines. Could be quite useful. Then for a fire and 2 colourless, Searing Flame, 60 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Quite good when you've got something like the Salazzle that's running about, the Salazzle GX. That will be a lot better than this. That, I think, poisons and burns, and the normal Salazzle poisons and burns, so that will be very good, but this Odor Sleuth could be quite useful. Then last up is Turtonator, another Turtonator, this one not a GX. HP 130, Flame Cloak 30 damage, attach a fire energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Again, kind of like the one that we just spoke about in the Semisear, and that one, but this is attaching the energy from your discard pile to that Pokemon. So you'll probably, if you're going to be using this instead of that, you'll need to be running some energy switches or something along those lines. Then for the fire and 2 colourless, Heat Blast, 70 damage, regular straight up normal attack. There we go, that's all of the fire Pokemon. Next up are the water ones. Starting off again, we've got another Alolan Vulpix. This one, 60 HP, much like the last, and for no energy, Powder Snow. Flip a coin. If heads, the opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So quite like the other Alolan Vulpix, this one has a useful no energy attack. This one making the Pokemon asleep as opposed to letting you find 2 Pokemon. Could be quite useful, helpful to stall, certainly. And then for 2 colourless, Icy Snow doing 20 damage. Then Alolan Ninetales, another Alolan Ninetales, HP 110, and this is one that will see a lot of play. possibly in water decks, possibly beyond, for the ability Luminous Barrier. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon GX. That will be useful, as in almost every deck there are Pokemon EX and Pokemon GXs. If you're running anything, almost anything except some of the troll decks like Wailord and Quad Wob, you're running EXs or GXs, and quite a few of them. There are very few that don't have the main attacker being an EX or a GX. Very useful indeed. Along with this, for 1 water and 2 colourless, Aurora Beam for 80 damage, a straight up normal attack. Quite good for the amount of energy, not too shabby, but it's the ability that is very useful. Does need to be in the active position though, or if it's not in the active, then something like a Decidueye wouldn't be able to use its ability on it, I don't think. Some of the wording a little bit ambiguous, but that's the way it seems. You'd want it in your active, that way you can just Aurora Beam turn after turn, take out a normal EX or GX 2 to 3 turns, and you'd be away. Then next up we have Horsey, 60 HP, for 1 water, does a water arrow, 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness or resistance for benched Pokemon. So you can attach it to the face, you can attach it to one of the benched Pokemon, you can attach it wherever you like. Then we have Seadra, HP 80, water arrow, just the next evolution, same attack, but does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and again you don't apply weakness or resistance for benched Pokemon. Then we have Kingdra, HP 140, for 1 water you've got Brine. This attack does 90 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So when you've used the water arrows from the turns before, most of the Pokemon will have some damage counters on them, just 1 or 2, and then you can use the Brine for an extra 90 damage for just 1 water energy. Then along with that you've got another water energy, Tornado Shot, 90 damage. Discard a water energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So very much like the attack from the Umbreon GX, does 90 damage and then 30 to another Pokemon. Very useful, only takes 1 energy. You can just attach another energy next turn, keep doing that, and you're going to be hitting the bench with this evolution chain. I can foresee that this will be used. It will be very helpful to stop some evolutions if you're able to do 10, 30, 90 damage to some of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Then, going from the incredibly powerful and quite used, we have Magikarp. HP 30 for 1 water splashing dodge, 10 damage, flip a coin if head, prevent all effects of attack including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So this is kind of like the Wailord's dive attack. Could be used in a trolling sense as well. Chuck a couple of Fliptinis into this deck and you could stop them. The difference being that with the Wailord deck you had HP of 200. With this you've got HP of 30. So if you miss it just once, if you don't get that head, it will just be knocked out and it'll be in your discard pile. You could always run quite a few rescue stretchers. You'd probably need maybe a float stone or 2 for your Fliptinis. Could be quite useful, could be used in a couple of trolling decks. Not got the greatest HP, but with something like that you could always stick on a Fighting Fury belt. Then it would be 70 HP and you'd be doing 20 damage from a Magikarp, and that way they can't attack you next turn at all. From that you've got Gyarados, 150 HP, for 2 colourless you've got Venting Anger, 50 times damage. This attack does 50 damage times the number of Magikarp in your discard pile. Expanded, you could be running Battle Compressors, chuck out all of your Magikarps. That would be very useful way. You'd be doing 150 damage, 180 with a choice band. Then for 2 water, 2 colourless, Splash Burn, 160 damage. This attack does 30 damage to each of your benched Pokemon. Don't apply weakness or resistance. So quite a normal attack. High 160. If you've got a choice band, that could knock out Grampas, things like that. And it does 30 to each of your bench Pokemon. So you set up 3 Magikarps on your bench, you've got this one out in the active, you do this, all your Magikarps are gone, then next turn you can be venting Anger for 150. Then Marill, HP 60, 1 water, does bubble, flip a coin, if heads your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralysed. Quite helpful. It's always nice to be able to stall the opponent, and if they're paralysed, all the better. Then we've got Azumarill, HP 120, ability Thick Fat. Any damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's water or fire attack is reduced by 30. So quite useful. I think there was an old Pokemon that had something like this. I think it was a Sphere or something along those lines. Then you've got for 1 water and 2 colourless, Waterfall for 80 damage. Somewhat useful. I don't know if it's going to see that much play. The ability isn't fantastic. The Marill isn't too shabby for it's just 1 water and being able to paralyse them. Could be quite useful, but beyond that I don't know how much play these ones are going to see. Panpour, 70 HP, much like the other 2 Pans. Water Gun, 10 damage. Basic Pokemon, basic attack, what you'd expect. And then you've got Simipour, HP for 90, you've got 1 colourless, Scratch for 30 damage, and then for the water and colourless, Aqua Reflect, 50 damage, move 1 water energy from this Pokemon to your bench Pokemon. So could help just start getting some energies to a Lapras, to something along those lines, Alolan Ninetales, wherever you might need it. Might see some play, but can't really expect too much from it. Last up we have Bruxish. For 100 HP and 1 water you've got Gnash Teeth. The defending Pokemon is now confused, and what you'll see a trend in this. Quite a few of these Pokemon, their abilities or their lower attacks are confusing, are paralysing, are putting to sleep, so things like Alolan Muck are going to be incredibly useful in this set, whereas quite a few of the other ones, there'd be 1 or 2 Pokemon that would confuse or paralyse or put to sleep. This has quite a few of them. Then for water and 2 colourless, Synchronize, 60 damage. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has the same type as your opponent's active Pokemon. So you'd be wanting them to run something with a lot of water, and this, I'm not sure if it's going to see that much play, as water decks aren't too prevalent. There's just a lot of psychic ones running about at the moment. Could be somewhat useful, but who is to say? That is going to do it for part 1. Next up there will be the fighting, psychic and electric type Pokemons. So it should be going up at exactly the same time. All of the commons, uncommons and rares going up at the same time. So do look out for that. Should be in the suggested videos just to the side. But thank you very much for watching, and how do, Mime Artists?
Eggs! Eggs! EGGS eggs!